In this video, we'll learn how to create backgrounds for your animations. We'll cover some simple techniques regarding parallaxing and talk about how to best work your backgrounds seamlessly into your animations. Let's get to it.
TipTut.
Hello everybody and welcome back to TipTut and welcome back to the How to Create an Animation series. Last episode, we learned how to take our storyboard and turn it into an animatic. So if you haven't watched that yet, you can do so here. If you have watched it, awesome. Today, we'll talk about backgrounds. Backgrounds are a chance to express your animation style in a more detailed and intricate way. We all know having textures, shading, and complex shapes in your animation adds so much time to the workflow, but as your backgrounds are mostly static, you can use this as a chance to really express yourself without too much impact on the delivery of your animation. Today, I'll break down my thought process on how I created this indoor background for Just Add Water. We'll cover what to do about shots that require a moving camera, and how to situate your characters into the scene naturally. Now, if you struggle drawing backgrounds, I have an existing video on that, which you can watch here. In this video, like we've done in the rest of this series, we'll focus on how it fits into the animation workflow. So, to get started, look at your animatic. This will give you a rough idea of what backgrounds you'll need per scene. You might think it's one per scene, which sounds obvious, but if there are any changes in camera angle or something like an extreme close-up, you might find it better to redraw the background with a bit more detail so you can retain the same style in each shot. In this scene, for example, we clearly need a wide shot background of the scene, but when the camera moves into Timmy, we might find a simple shot of just the window with more detailed items on the windowsill might work better. Next, determine if your background needs to be larger than your canvas size. For example, currently when we move to the extreme close-up of the dino, we can see the edge of the existing background sketch creeping in. Additionally, at the end of the scene, when the camera briefly shoots up to follow the dino growing, the background needs to move down, so we might need to include more of the window and potentially even some of the roof. So that's a potential of 3 backgrounds for this scene: wide, mid-shot of the window, and an extreme close-up of the window too. To save time, and because it'll be mostly covered by the dinosaur, I'll just reuse the mid-shot of the window in the extreme close-up of the dino. No one will notice, or possibly even care if they do. If I show the same low detail bottles and candles and things from the wide shot in the mid shot, that might be a bit distracting, so it's worth redoing that one. 2 backgrounds then, both of which need to be a different shape to the canvas, namely taller in the wide to accommodate for the upwards camera motion, and probably square in the mid shot as it'll be rotating around and we need to cover all angles. So let's get to it. For the wide shot, we'll need at least 3 layers because of the parallaxing we spoke about in the last episode: wall, bath, sink and toilet. But whatever software you're making your backgrounds in, I recommend keeping it as non-destructive as possible and putting everything you can on its own layer. This makes things much more flexible later on, and you can always duplicate and flatten to just 3 images upon export. Firstly, I need to extend my sketch to include the additional information, such as the window and top of the roof. So I use that as an opportunity to refine the whole sketch. Once I'm happy with that, I need to choose a color palette. This animation is funny, joyous, and silly, so I think lots of bold, bright, oversaturated colors will help with that. I'm using a brilliant color palette by Gigantic, the link to which is in the description. But if you have trouble pairing colors, I have a video on that too, which you can watch here. Try to pick a palette that suits the mood of your animation and then just dive in. First, do a quick color sketch of your background. Colors have a very heavy visual weight, so you'll want to make sure your colors are drawing your audience to the correct part of your background. If you don't know what visual weight is, watch this video here. I want everyone looking at the bath. Other aspects like the camera movement and the fact that the character is banging in the middle of the frame help direct the viewer's eye, but doing a quick color sketch to determine what best leads the viewer's eye towards the bath really helps. Obviously, the bath is white, so darker walls, floor, and objects will help add a good amount of contrast to the image, drawing the viewer's eye to the center. Okay, I'm roughly happy, let's move on. I want a lineless style for this animation, so I'll start out with a block base color on whatever object I'm drawing first, in this case the bath, as that's the most important thing in the scene. Once I'm roughly happy with those block colors, I'll go and add some accent lines where we need differentiation between elements, like at the edge of the bath's rim or details on the tap. Usually I'll just use a brighter or darker shade of whatever the base color is. After block colors are done, I like to add a new layer on top using a clipping mask, so it only draws in the layer beneath. I'll usually set this to overlay mode, then using a white brush for highlights and a black brush for shadows, I'll add some basic shading to my object. I do it this way so I don't have to worry about color in the next step, which is to add some texture. Using a texture brush, at the moment I'm loving this watercolor style brush that I can't pronounce in Procreate, I'll do a general light wash over the object, again on its own layer set to overlay. Then I go back with a colored brush on its own layer and add some actual colored shading and highlights, which the two overlay layers make really pop. Everything gets put in its own folder, and I do the exact same process for the rest of the objects. When it comes to drawing the next background, don't be afraid to move things around a little in order to create a better composition. In this shot, you should definitely be able to see the bath at the bottom of the frame, but it doesn't add much and it would be visually distracting, so I removed it. It's my animation. I do what I want. Same thing with the bottles on the shelf. If they'll all be covered by Timmy, shift them about a bit so everyone can see your hard work, if it works for the shot, of course. Once you've got your background, simply export it in the various layers you need, or just take the source file into your animation software if it supports that, and then test it in your animatic. With Adobe Animate, I can just replace the contents of each symbol I made. Easy. And that's all there is to it. Like I mentioned before, if you want details on how to actually draw backgrounds, check out this video, which focuses on that. But in the meantime, make sure you've liked and rung the notification bell, and leave a comment saying which part of the animation process you'd like me to cover in this series, just so I don't miss anything important. The next episode will cover some animation tips and tricks. I've done plenty of detailed animation tutorials before that I'll highlight in that video, but this one will focus on some little tips and tricks I've picked up along the way to help make the animation process smoother. After that, there'll be an episode on exhibition, showing the best free and simple ways to get your animation out there into the world. So if there's anything missing in that list that you want to see covered, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time on TipTut. Oh, these delightful and lovely members support me every single month because they are beautiful people. If you want to be a beautiful person as well, you already are. Don't worry about that. But if you want to support the channel, you can do so at the join button below.
Remember to subscribe for more tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thanks for watching.